Thank you. Hello. You ready? Okay. Hello, everybody. Notice this meeting will be held in accordance with Executive Order N2920, issued by California Governor Gavin Newsom on March 17th, 2020. The Ralph M. Brown Act, California Government Code Section 54950 ET sequence, and the Federal Americans with Disabilities Act. This meeting will not be physically open to the public. All members of the public may participate and comment via the application Zoom. Zoom meeting information is on the posted agenda. Remote public comment is also available for the City Council meeting by emailing cityclerk@ci.series.ca.us by 5 p.m. Date of the meeting, including in the agenda item number or public comment period in the subject line of the email. The clerk may read written comments into the record if specifically requested to do so at the beginning of your email. Your written comment will be distributed to the City Council and kept on file as part of the official records of the council meeting. Welcome, everybody, to the City Council regular meeting, Monday, February 22nd, 2021. Let's begin with the call everything to order, please.
The roll call.
That's the roll
Councilmember
call.
Ryan. Here. Councilmember Silvera.
Here.
Vice Mayor Condit.
Present.
And Mayor Lopez.
Thank you. I believe we do have an invocation by Pastor Scott Elliott from Big Valley Christian. Is he on?
Yeah, I'm here.
How you doing today?
Good. How are you guys doing?
Been great.
Well, thank you for the opportunity. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, Lord, I thank you so much for the City Council here and the role that they play, their heart for service for the people of Ceres. Lord, we pray that you would watch over this community. Lord, that you would keep people safe. We pray for all the kids and families that are home now because they either can't work or kids can't be at school. Father, we ask that you would watch over them, help them just in terms of mental health to be strong and to have support systems in place. Father, we pray for the economy of Ceres. We pray for the businesses there. Father, we pray that they would thrive, that they would do well. And Lord, I thank you for each person who is a part of this council and has given their time to serve the community. Father, we pray that as they meet, that they would have great wisdom as they share their ideas and their concerns, as they look over documents and share findings and all the things that make up what they do. We pray that they would have great wisdom and really seek to do what is best for your people, for the community of Ceres. And Father, that it would be a really just a community that is known for how much they care for each other. And so we pray a blessing on their meeting tonight and on all that they're going to accomplish. And we ask this in your name. Amen.
The flag of the United States of America, the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I believe we do have a presentation today. Tuolumne River Regional Park Citizens Advisory Committee presentation, Brandy Meyer. Is she on today?
Brandy, can you hear us?
Get unmuted.
Barely.
Brandy, are you speaking into your phone directly? Brandy, can you hear us?
hear you. Can you not hear me?
We
Can
can
you
hear
hear
you now. Are you,
Okay.
are you away from a microphone or a phone? Can you speak directly into the microphone?
I'm on a laptop. I'm speaking as close as I can get to it. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay. Good evening, Mayor Lopez and council members Rhino, Silvera, and Condit, City Manager Westbrook, and the city staff. I'm here tonight to talk to you about the Tuolumne River Regional Park and the Citizens Advisory Committee. I wanted to give you an update on what's been happening with the park, and then request that you consider putting back into the budget the funding for this regional park. So first I wanted to go over who exactly is on this committee. You can go to next slide.
My computer's having a challenge here. Hold on a second. Yeah,
Gotta
but
love
it's not on the,
technology, right?
not on the TVs here. So it can be seen out in Zoom, but we're not seeing it inside.
Okay. Can the council members see it?
No, nobody can see it. I apologize. Please stand by.
Okay.
We are
Or
live.
Brandy,
We can see-
Brandy, we're ready to go. Please
Okay.
proceed. I'll go to slide number 2.
Thank you. So the current members of the Citizens Advisory Committee are Jim Bishop from Modesto, Chris Guptill from Modesto, Luis Jimenez from Stanislaus County Board of Supervisors. He was appointed by that board. Myself, appointed by Series City Council. Darlene Patrick, appointed by the Stanislaus County Board of Supervisors. Carol Stark, also appointed by the Stanislaus County Board of Supervisors. And Mr. Ronald West, who is our current chair. The responsibility of the Tuolumne River Regional Park Citizens Advisory Committee is to serve as an advisory body on the acquisition, development, maintenance, and operation of this park. The members are appointed by their respective legislative bodies and serve at their direction. Applicants may not be a paid city or county employee. There are currently 3 current vacancies available, one for the city of Ceres. That was last held by Shep Shepherd, as some of you might know. And there are 2 vacancies for Stanislaus County. Next. So I just wanted to show a few pictures. I didn't want to do a whole presentation on pictures, but I went out there a few days ago and took a couple of pictures just to show how large this park is. This is the main sign at the South Morton Trailhead. Next. And you can see some of the bike trails going up to the amphitheater and then down by the river. There's signage everywhere showing you where bike trails are. Next. And just the meadows are gorgeous. Now this is, coming out of the winter time. So in spring, I'm sure it's going to be even more green and beautiful and lush. And you can see at the bottom picture, that is part of the beginning of the amphimeadow, where several events we're hoping will be planned. As I was there, I saw at least 10 bicyclists who were riding their bikes through the trails. So even now, they're definitely being used. There is a sign there that has a bike trail classification to show you where you can go, how many miles that trail is, and there's legends all over for people to look at. Next. So when was the trip founded? The Tuolumne River Regional Park was founded on February 22nd, 1972, between 3 jurisdictions: the County of Stanislaus, City of Modesto, and the City of Ceres. There was a written agreement between all 3 jurisdictions to provide a regional park for all citizens near and far to enjoy. The property along the river was purchased with the intent of creating a regional recreational park. Next. As I mentioned, Stanislaus County, City of Modesto, and City of Ceres are all part of TRIP. The agreement was created in 1972 and signed by then Mayor Ceres Michael F. Scalise as our mayor, with amendments in 1977 and 1978 signed by Ceres Mayor E.A. Humphreys. The amendments were created in 77 and 78 as more property was acquired along the river. In 1983, an amendment was created to change the amount that was paid by each party and signed by then Ceres Mayor Brian Carlin. Next. In 1996, a new formula was created on how much each party will pay for their share of the development and the maintenance of the park. The new formula was created by an interagency task force with people from all 3 jurisdictions. The new amendment was agreed upon and signed by then Ceres Mayor Barbara Hinton. We all know her. The agreement includes that any party can terminate with 1-year notice. However, I have no idea why any of the 3 parties would want to terminate after such a long history. Next. Being part of a regional park along such a beautiful river is so unique that we should be blessed to be a part of it. The City of Ceres should not step in and step out, as we feel it's needed to have such a minimal amount of money that we pay out of our budget. With the development of the formula in 1996, the City of Ceres pays such a small amount compared to the other 2 jurisdictions, and we still get to reap the benefits of the regional park. Now, I don't have the numbers, but what I was told is Modesto pays over $100,000 a year, and our last payments when we were still paying into it was approximately $18,000 to $20,000. So a huge difference between the City of Ceres and the City of Modesto. Our past mayors and our city council saw the benefit in being part of a regional park, so much so that we have history dating all the way back to 1972. Next. So one of the main parts that's being worked on right now for the Tuolumne River Park is the Gateway Parcel. And the Gateway Parcel is being planned and developed in phases. The phases include the building of an amphimeadow, riparian terrace, bike trails, walking trails, boating ramp, and pedestrian bridge. One of the questions that I keep getting asked are, what are the benefits to the City of Ceres? Why should Ceres be involved? Well, the benefits are being part of a regional park has benefits for all citizens in Ceres. The park was developed under the commitment from all 3 GPA that a regional recreational park would benefit anyone living or visiting the area to be used by all. As the park continues to develop and the pedestrian bridge is built, all people living in the area will be able to use the park for biking, walking, outdoor recreation, and outdoor education, etc. Next. Mancini Memorial Park is part of the Tuolumne River Regional Parks Committee. Mancini Park is located at 1204 River Road in Modesto, but as you know, it's on the side of the river that inhabits Ceres. Currently, Modesto does the maintenance and cleanup of Mancini Park, even though it is on the side of Ceres. Once the pedestrian bridge is developed, the citizens of Ceres will be able to literally walk over to the Gateway Parcel and enjoy the biking and walking trails of the park. Next. So the City of Ceres made a commitment in 1972 not only to Stanislaus County and Modesto, but to the citizens of Ceres that we would take part in a development of a regional park in Stanislaus County. The City of Ceres has backed out on the agreement and should consider our responsibility to the original JPA from 1972. After all, the benefits of a regional park, or any park for that matter, during this time of a pandemic is well worth any of the costs. And with that, I will go ahead and open up for questions.
Does anyone have any questions? Councilmember Rhino.
Ms. Meyer, I know that you have a real heart for this park. I can or the regional park, and I can understand that. But truly, the reason the previous council opted not to pay into the roughly 17,000 a year wasn't strictly the money. It was the fact that every time we went to their meetings, everything was about what benefited the city of Modesto and the county side. Nothing was ever done for the other side, what would be the east side of Mitchell Road. That was why we did it, because we weren't seeing anything for our money.
Okay, I can understand that. And knowing that now, because I wasn't at those meetings, I wasn't at the committee meetings, I was at the citizen advisory meeting. I can definitely look into that and find out what more we can do for the city of Ceres.
Well, I don't know that there is a lot they can do, because I initially believed that when we were looking to get grant money for our regional park, that the county and the city of Modesto would be beneficial. They would be able to help us apply for those grants, and that isn't what happened. And I know also that Mr. Guptill doesn't even do the 9 to 99 cleanups, because to the east of Mitchell Road Bridge, because a portion of that river frontage is privately owned, and then we have our own park. But it just doesn't seem like we've gotten any benefit from being part of that. I get that it benefits the citizens, but the park is there anyway, and we're spending this money basically to fund their park when maybe we could be putting it into our own park.
Well, I don't see it as their park, it's our park.
Well, I know it's a regional park, but when I see the only projects that are going on or taking part in Modesto and Stanislaus County, to me, it's more of their park, not our park.
So I did talk to Mr. Lauer and Mr. Howe from Modesto recently about why the River Bluff Regional Park was not a part of the Tuolumne River Regional Park, and both seem to be open for discussion. So that's something that I would like to bring to the table and find out, because I think that would be an opportunity for more grants for the city of Ceres.
Hi, Brandy, Brett Silvera. Thank you for the comments and for the presentation. Would you have a timeline on the possibility of that bridge being constructed, the pedestrian bridge?
No, I don't have a timeline just yet. I did ask Mr. Howe about that. He doesn't have an exact timeline. The park is being done in phases. And of course, with the pandemic, things changed a little bit, but they are looking at doing some more construction and building in the fall. We don't know exactly when that bridge will be, but they are working on the next phase.
Thank you.
Councilmember Condit.
Yeah, City Manager Westbrook, I had a question. The money was taken out in 2017?
That was the last time we made a payment, yes.
And the reason was we weren't getting our money's worth, or?
I think that Councilman Rhino explained why. That was a council decision to just take that money out of the budget.
That was 2017, so Mayor Vieira. And the whole council, was a unanimous decision?
I don't know if it was unanimous decision or not without researching, but it was direction provided by the council during the budget session.
Okay, thank you.
And so at this point, Mayor, I know that this is just a presentation.
Right.
I know that there are a couple of hands raised in the attendees. Not necessarily, we don't have to open it up for that. This was just a presentation. The council can move on from here, but it's entirely the decision of the council.
Yeah, we can move on. Everybody's okay with it. Thank you. Are we able to get back Zoom on the screen or? We just still have the presentation.
Yeah.
So
Oh, really? Okay.
I know that there were some members who wanted to speak, some of the committee members who wanted to speak.
Some
the
of the
committee.
committee members
Right,
from your committee?
correct.
Yeah, that should be okay if they would like to speak.
Mayor, there are two hands raised. One is Dave Pratt. Actually, one hand now, Dave Pratt.
So is that one of the committee members?
No.
No.
Okay. Okay. So does any of the committee members want to speak or are they here?
There are no other.
Doesn't look like it.
raised.
Not at the moment? Okay.
Since it's on the agenda, I'd recommend we go ahead and take Mr. Pratt's comment.
Sure. We'll take the comment, please.
Pratt, I'll unmute your mic.
This is Dave Pratt. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hey, I just want to know this bridge, pedestrian bridge, is it going to be built high enough that any debris coming down the river isn't going to destroy it? Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes.
Yeah, we can hear you.
I can hear you. So the plan
Oh.
for the pedestrian bridge is over near the Mancini Park. If you drive by Mancini Park and look over the edge, it's very high. The bank of the river is high over in that area. So it won't be right on the water. It'll be high enough above the water to ride a bike or to walk over. And I'm sure they're going to take into consideration the debris in the river and the rising of the water as well.
I know, because we had eliminated 2 bridges and a dam because the debris that come down was bottlenecked. Actually, we have a bottleneck at Mitchell Road Bridge because the water got high enough that it ran into the roadway. So yeah, that was just my main question about the bridge. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so if I could just ask the council to consider this request and just leave it on the table, if not this year, maybe for next year.
Thank you, Ms. Meyer.
Thank you. There is no other hands raised. I can't see the screen for Zoom.
Mayor, next hand is Gene Yakely. Mr. Yakely, I'll unmute your mic.
Yes, good evening. I want to address this to Brandy because, I can hear. This is going to be a huge undertaking, I'm sure. And then the bridge and the I don't know how many square miles this particular expansion of the park will be. But has there anything been mentioned about security? This is going to bring in, we got driving bridges, but people walking over. This is going to be something that possibly could cause a problem, but is there going to be full-time security when this park's completed? And are we going to benefit from something like that?
So it's currently, phase 1 has already been completed for the park. If you go over by Morton and go down to, oh gosh, I can't think of the name of the street there, but it's near the 9th Street Bridge. If you go down there, it's already been built. The bike trails are already there. Some of the walking trails are already there. And the city of Modesto does go through there regularly to make sure that the park is not being overrun by homeless camps or other people that are camping in that area, because there's no camping allowed. So there is current security now. As part of the master plan, it does involve security. Once the park is completed, that is part of the master plan.
Would it be full-time
I
security?
don't know if it's full-time or not.
Because, you know, a lot of people, urchins come out at night sometimes, and that could be a big issue with movement during besides the daytime activity at night.
Right. And
it
as
seemed like-
Ms. Rhino mentioned the 9 to 99 projects with Mr. Guptill, he has been going out there on a regular basis. In fact, next weekend, there's another cleanup. They go out every month or every other month to do cleanups along the river. And they usually have a sheriff who goes in there beforehand to make sure that there's nobody in there for safety reasons. And they haven't had really any problems with that. So it's been that way for a couple of years. I've been on the committee for 15 years. And there hasn't been too many issues with security because there's enough people that are going through there and clearing it out on a regular basis.
Could you, the next time you go to a committee hearing for this park, can you address the committee about possibly having full-time security there day and night?
Absolutely. I can bring that to the committee.
Yeah, I think that'd be a good thing. The safer it is, the more people want to enjoy it. Once it gets some bad marks, as we know in society, people are going to tend to be afraid to go out and go to those kind of places with their loved ones. Thank you.
Right. And we definitely want families to go there.
Yes.
Thank you. Is there anybody else? Yeah.
Yes, Mayor. Next person is Lee Brandt.
Okay.
Mr. Brandt, I'll unmute your mic.
I don't really have a comment on the regional park. I just wanted to go on with the rather regular presentations. So if somebody else would like to go, that's fine.
Okay, thanks.
So, is there anybody else?
There are no other hands raised, Mayor.
Okay. Thank you, Silvera. We're going to go ahead and move on to citizens communications. While the City Council welcomes and encourages participation in the City Council meetings, adopted rules allows no more than 5 minutes. Resolution 2007-106 for expression of a non-agenda item, matters under the jurisdiction of the City Council and not on the posted agenda, may be addressed by the general public. However, California law prohibits the City Council from taking any action on any matter which is not posted on the agenda unless it is determined to be an emergency by the City Council. Citizens are entitled to address the City Council on any agenda item subject to 5 minutes provision. Public comments will now be accepted through Zoom. For those participating through the web, please raise your hand to request to speak. Hand icon bottom of your screen. If you are participating by telephone, please press *9 on your phone. The city clerk will call your name in the order requests are received. When it's time for you to speak, the city clerk will unmute your microphone. City clerk, please provide the names of each person that is requested to speak.
Yes, Mayor. First person is Lee Brandt. Mr. Brandt, I'll unmute your mic.
Thank you.
Good evening again, council and staff and department heads. I'd just like to request that, it's a little hard sometimes to not hear, but to understand what people are saying. Tonight has not been too bad. Councilwoman Rhino was very clear, along with Brett Silvera. Cooper, not so much, because you keep touching your mask when you're talking. And Mr. Mayor, you're a soft-spoken man. So if we could just maybe get you guys to lean a little bit more into your microphones, I'm sure that the others would understand also. I would just like to also comment on the moving on of Chief Weiss. I'm sure that whoever gets chosen for to continue his position will be the most qualified person that is for that. And I would also hope that the person that gets appointed to fill in for District 1 would also be the most qualified. Right now, we need qualified people. We are in the middle of the pandemic. We're coming out of it. There are things going on, but we just need qualified people. And with that, I will rest and I'll let Tom have a seat. Thank you and have a blessed night, everybody.
Thank you, Mr. Grant. Anyone else?
Yes, Mayor. Next person is Gene Yakely. Mr. Yakely, I'll unmute your mic.
Yes, I have a comment about, well, not a comment. I'd like to know if tonight is Mr. Lohr from Parks and Recreation there, and is he going to speak? And if he is, I'd like to have him tell everyone watching tonight what the final count is for the naming of the park. That's it. Thank you.
There were 169 entries, Mr. Yeakley.
That's it? Because when I talked to the office there, I think Thursday or Friday, probably when you got a hold of John Warren, the young lady said they were counting paper voting that people were walking in and submitting.
We had a lot of paper turned in on Friday late afternoon, so the number is way higher. And I won't be making that announcement tonight because I do want to say that for the committee that the city council appointed and took the time and have that discussion with them on the best way to move forward, Mr. Yeakley. I'm more than happy to share that with you if you give me a call, but tomorrow morning the committee will have the list of names, how they came in and the order, the numbers, and there's a variety of stuff there. So it's a very exciting time to get that response, but I don't feel like this is the time we should be sharing it tonight. There's a ad hoc committee and we'll do it then. Okay, thank you.
I just thought that there was, a figure, a final figure of those kind people that took the time to submit a request.
We did get a lot of paper on Friday afternoon, so it caught us a little off guard. I was off Friday, a half day, so we're catching up today. So we'll have that out.
So if I write you a call, you could give me a final count?
Tomorrow morning would be great.
Okay, thank you.
Is there anybody else?
Yes, Mayor. Next person is John Osgood. Mr. Osgood, I'll unmute your mic.
Mr. Osgood, welcome.
Okay, so just so you all know, somehow reason the last two meetings, Zoom has asked a guy driving a semi truck to unmute himself. The 3 meetings ago, I didn't have to do that. So if we could address that moving forward, that would be like major helpful for those of us that shouldn't be touching our cellular devices while we're driving. Secondly, we have an agenda item for closed session to deal with some labor issues with the series peace officers. And I would counsel those that are public employees, retired public employees, or peace officers in the state of California to look up the definition of a conflict of interest and recuse themselves from those meetings where labor negotiations with unions are taking place. Lastly, everybody pretty much knows that I want these meetings open to public attendance. While I am currently driving a semi truck, I will alter my schedule as a business owner to attend should that happen. 2 weeks from now, city staff is supposed to come forward with recommendations to safely open. I like how everybody, whenever they talk about anything, sneaks the word pandemic in. I just want to drop some numbers on you provided to me by the Stanislaus County Health Services Agency's dashboard. Stanislaus County, we know, has 550,660 people. We've had 49,266 coronavirus cases, 910 deaths. Our cases are 8.97% of county population. The deaths are 1.847% of those almost 9%. For a 0.165% death rate from this pandemic. Not discounting the loss of life, but we should not be further tyrannized when we're not taking into account March last year to date numbers. I spoke with Chance Condit's office at the district supervisor. series alone, 5,102 cases with a population of 48,706 estimated in 2019, and not having 2020 census numbers. That's what we'll go off of. 10.5% of series has tested positive. Of that 10.5%, 1.3132% have perished from coronavirus. Not a huge number, people. And of the 5,102, that's the percentage that we've lost. As far as to our population, 0.1375 total. So we're trending under the county, and the county is trending at 0.165% of total population, within the average of the state of California. I understand people are getting sick. I know you guys are going to review this all individually as the 4 members of the council, but I just really like you to keep in consideration. These are 1 year later, total figures, total percentages. Remedial math can get us to these percentages, and we can open safely. With that being said, please consider what I said about conflict of interest. We do not, I think, as a majority of the council, understand exactly what conflict of interest is. And while you think you don't work for the Ceres Police Department, or you're retired, and that doesn't have an effect, we know as a citizenry that the labor negotiations from one union lead to negotiation tactics with another, and that in itself is a conflict of interest. Everyone have a good evening, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there anyone else?
There are no other hands raised, Mayor.
Okay, we'll now close public comment. Thank you. Is there anybody on the council who has a conflict of interest declaration? Take that as a no. Moving on to the consent calendar. All matters listed on the consent calendar are considered routine in nature and will be enacted by a single motion unless otherwise requested by an individual council member or public for special consideration. Otherwise, the recommendation of staff will be accepted and acted upon by roll call vote. Is there anyone on the council that would like to pull a consent item for further discussion? No? Is there anybody in the public that would like to pull an item for consent for further discussion? No?
No hands raised.
Okay.
I'll
May I
move
have a
to
motion?
approve the consent calendar.
Second.
May I get a roll call, please?
Councilmember Rhino,
Yes.
Councilmember Silvera,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Condit,
Yes.
and Mayor Lopez.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
We'll now move on to unfinished business. Number 9, resolution number 2021-16, appointing a member to fill the District 1 council vacancy. Westbrook.
Thank you, Mayor Lopez. Yes, this is just continuation from your meeting of February 2nd, where you interviewed the 4 applicants. Continued that item to your meeting of February 8th, which was continued to this meeting tonight on February 22nd.
Thank you, Mr. Westbrook. Would anybody on the council would like to start this conversation?
Sure, I'd like to move to approve Lori Smith as the representative of the District 1 City Council and City of Ceres.
Second.
May I get a roll call, please?
Councilmember Rhino,
Yes.
Councilmember Silvera,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Condit,
Nay.
and Mayor Lopez.
Nay.
Motion fails 2-2.
I'd like to nominate Mr. Mark White.
Will second that motion. May I get a roll call?
Councilmember Rhino,
No.
Councilmember Silvera,
No.
Vice Mayor Condit,
Aye.
and Mayor Lopez.
Aye.
2-2, motion fails.
Mr. Condit?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I wanted to ask City Attorney Hallinan what the process would be if there is not a decision tonight.
We still have some time, I believe. It's March 5th or 7th.
March 5th is the date. I believe that the council, that's 60 days from the vacancy that was created when Supervisor Condit was sworn in at the Board of Supervisors.
So that being the case, if you do not make appointment by that date, March 5th, then, and if you don't call for a special election, it will automatically go to a special election.
Thank you.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but we don't meet again before March 5th, correct? As a council?
The next regularly scheduled council meeting is on March 8th. So if a decision was not made this evening, then the council would have to move this discussion to a special meeting before March 5th. I'm not advocating for anything here, but I do believe that the city clerk did get some updated information regarding a special election if that's the process that's ultimately selected. And I believe that if we didn't, if the council couldn't come to concurrence on an appointment process and we moved to the special election, it would be anticipated, I think the end of August would be the soonest that that special election could take place. I think around the 31st.
August 31st, correct. And the Board of Supervisors would need a resolution so they can take to their board, I believe, by March, their last meeting in March 30th, because we still have to call for an election and ask to consolidate so we can administer our election.
Okay, I would like to motion to appoint Connie Vasquez.
Second.
Can I get a roll call, please?
Councilmember Rhino,
No.
Councilmember Silvera,
No.
Vice Mayor Condit,
Aye.
and Mayor Lopez.
Aye.
2-2, motion fails.
Mr. Cooper?
City Manager Westbrook, other cities have been faced with this issue in the past, and other cities have handled it differently than we're handling it this past month. I sent you an email of the agenda from a Turlock City Council meeting a few years back where they filled an appointment. Could you pull up that agenda so I could use a visual aid so the citizens at home could see what I'm talking about? I know we've had some technical difficulties tonight.
Okay, I can see it on your screen, Diane, but we still can't see it on the. Okay. Yeah, and if you can stop sharing your screen, Diane, I'll bring it up so that we shown. For those waiting at home, we're trying to print up hard copies so the council can see this. We're having a technical challenge in the city council chambers with the TV monitors, so they are not able to actually see what you're seeing over Zoom. So we'll be just a second. Okay, Councilman Condit, the image is posted on Zoom.
Okay, and thank you, Mr. Lohr, for printing these out and getting them to the council members. As you can see on page 2, each council member was required to write down their top 3 choices for filling the appointment. That's how I went into this process. I didn't have a chosen one person that I thought was the end-all be-all of city government. I had a selection. I would ask that my colleague choose their top 2 folks so we can all come to an agreement.
Cooper, so you're asking us if we have our top two, is that what I'm getting from you?
Yes, Mayor, I just think it would be appropriate. I remember at the first meeting, we all went down the line and set our top choice. I don't see why we all wouldn't have a second choice.
Sounds pretty clear to me. We want to change the process that was agreed upon on how this would work. And I'm not in agreement with now's the time to change the process. We agreed on the process. We went through the process. Here we are.
And Councilmember, sorry.
It's okay. You're okay.
Councilmember Silvera, I absolutely agree with you. We agreed to the process. We did not agree to do Turlock way. We said we were going to do it the way that we initially said, and I believe we should stick with that. And I will still say that I believe the most qualified person council needs is Ms. Smith. We need someone on here with experience.
Mr. Cooper.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, if my colleagues feel that way, that no other candidate is qualified, then I think they should have asked or requested that we allow others to apply. I shouldn't have done that. They should have. I did because I believe it's the right thing to do. If you don't agree, bring other options, other candidates forward. This motion wasn't supported by any of my colleagues. And tonight, I just request that we all name our top two choices. Thank you.
That's clearly not going to happen. What's the next part of the process?
Just for clarification, that was a motion that you were calling out for, Cooper?
Yes, sir.
Okay, because I didn't hear that you said that. I just thought it was just a recommendation.
No, that is a motion that we all should.
Well, yeah, so if that's a motion, I didn't get an opportunity to second it. That's why I'm asking. I'm seconding it now. Yeah, I wasn't understanding what he was trying to do.
I'll call the roll. Councilmember Rhino,
Oh,
Councilmember Silvera,
No.
Vice Mayor Condit,
Aye.
and Mayor Lopez.
Aye.
2-2, motion fails.
Mayor Lopez, this is
Yes, sir.
unfinished business item. I do believe the city clerk, did you receive some correspondence regarding this item ahead of the meeting?
I did receive after the last meeting, I copied council with the 3 emails. Emails were received in regards to the past council meeting. They were received right after the last meeting. I asked the 3 persons who sent the email, I told them I'd forward it to council. If they'd like it read, to please respond. I did not get a response from 2. The 3rd person said, thank you, that it was not necessary to read their comment into the record as long as council had it. Other than that, no other comments.
So there's no other comments. Okay. Thank you.
I do know that there are a couple of the attendees that have their hand raised as well. Mayor Lopez.
Yeah, before we move on to that, I'm going to allow Ms. Rhino to speak. Go ahead, Ms. Rhino.
no, I was just going to mention that we needed to open it up for the public.
Oh, okay, yes. As long as nobody else has anything else to say, we can go ahead and open up this discussion to the public, please.
Yes.
If there's anybody on Zoom that would like to speak, that would be great.
Yes, Mayor. First person with their hand raised is Mr. Osgood. Mr. Osgood, I
Osgood.
will unmute your mic.
Mr. Osgood, welcome.
There we are, hitting that button again at 55 miles an hour and an 80,000 pound vehicle. Please fix that, please. I shouldn't be attending these meetings on Zoom anyways, and that's the only way I can participate. Causes me to violate state law, Deputy Silvera. Open my meetings. Here's the deal. This is a mobbed up ass council. And yes, that word is precise. We have a public employee and a public retired employee holding us hostage, tyrannizing our city because they feel another public employee, an entrenched government agent, should be our city council person. Man, we fought a king over this kind of behavior. You two should be ashamed of yourselves. Ashamed. What's the problem with putting 2 or 3 names down and taking the person that got the most? The problem is that ain't how we do things in this country, Cooper. What we can all agree to, and it's quite clear, it's been quite clear for over a month. Special election, someone make the motion, everybody vote unanimous and move on. If you're going to stick on the edge of this cliff where you're showing us all as taxpayers and residents of this city that you don't give 2 shits about us because we're not public employees, then you're
Mr. Osgood,
you're
please refrain from cussing, please. Thank you very much, Mr.
we,
Osgood.
hey, we need people that are going to take into consideration what's best for the city, not best for the unions. No conflict of interest declarations ever take place. We have a closed session item. I discussed that. This very nomination process has turned into a conflict of interest. Everyone that's employed or paid through a retirement system that's publicly funded should be ashamed. And the 2 of you know who you are. We shouldn't have to get this passionate. And whatever words you may not like, they're words that even 5-year-olds are using. Move to a special election. Let's be done looking like the idiots of the county. This is ridiculous.
Thank you, Mr.
Shame.
Osgood. Is there anybody else?
The next person is Lee Brandt. Mr. Brandt, I'll unmute your mic.
Mr. Grant, thank you for joining us, sir.
Lee, I'll request again to unmute.
Did you guys hear me talk about Mr. Osgood? Having him please pull over if he wants to yell and scream, because he is driving 80,000 pound big rig down the road, risking his life along with others. I am just totally appalled at this whole thing. Mr. Mayor, you were elected to help this city of Ceres. And by going along with Cooper's agenda, you are not helping. I am very, very sorry, Cooper. You're a friend. I've known you since you were 3 years old. And what you're doing is just wrong. You guys need to appoint the most qualified person. I'm sure whoever appoints the fire chief will be the most qualified person and not some 18-year-old person that's running around with a fire hose. That's all I've got to say. Have a nice night and be blessed. And Mr. Osgood, please pull over. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Grant. Is there anybody else?
Yes, Mayor. Next person is Gene Yakely. Mr. Yakely, I'll mute your mic.
Mr. Yakely, thank you for joining us.
Yes, thank you. If I understood this right in the last few council meetings, that this position is for that district is going, District 1 is going to be what, a year and a half, 2 years? Is that correct?
Yes, this position would only fill the vacancy until the 2022 election.
Yeah. So that's coming up really quick. As we all know, as we get older, the time passes very fast. And, I agree the most qualified right now, we need somebody because of the situation the world's in, the city's in, the county's in. We need some help right away. Not that those people can't help us, But again, we need somebody that can run right in there right now. And because of the short term that that person's going to serve, then when they vote again, then these people can come back up again if they wish to. They might be discouraged right now about running, and it might draw some other ones. But really, the time period's only less than 2 years, maybe. Let's try to move this on and get the, and I understand the situation. I've been there trying to, do something myself a few years back, and I understand the individuals and how you guys are thinking about that, to put somebody in, give them a chance. But right now, the situation that we're in the world and the cities and the counties and everywhere, we need some help right now. And this woman, she could help us until the next election. And it's not that far off. And the next time those people will get 4 years. So I hope you think about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Yackley. Is there anybody else?
Yes, next person is John Warren. Mr. Warren, I'll unmute your mic.
Thank you, Mr. Warren, for joining us.
Good evening, council members. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Well, thank you for allowing me to join you this evening. Apparently, there's been some audio problems. Am I wrong with that?
We can hear you clearly at the moment, sir.
What I'm referring to is earlier in the meeting, I was unable to hear you folks and what the discussion was because of a problem with the audio and the way things were working with Zoom.
That's correct. We went ahead and got back online, and we weren't talking at all until that happened. So is there any other questions, sir?
Well, I missed the part of the meeting where the public was allowed to speak outside of council items or agenda items. And so in regards to that,
Okay. Yeah, we're not too sure what part you did or did not hear. Do you have any follow-up questions, sir?
I think Mr. Warren is going in and out of reception. It looks like he's dropped off the call.
Oh, he did? Okay.
Are you seeing the same thing, Diane?
Okay, because we can't see anything from here. Yeah, is there anybody else?
And Mayor is Renee Ledbetter. Ms. Ledbetter, I'll unmute your mic.
Welcome, Renee.
I will, same issue the last time. Let me promote you to panelist as you're using it.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Yes, we can hear you.
Great. I hope everybody's doing well tonight, and I'm sorry to see that we're back at the dais discussing this issue again. I think I also concur with Mr. Yackley as well as Mr. Brandt in sharing my thoughts as far as Miss Lori Smith being the most qualified person to carry the city through for the next 2 years. But I do have a couple of questions that I would like some clarification on, either from the city attorney or the city manager. If we go to a special election, is that election appointment only for the 2 years, or is it a 4-year appointment?
It just fills the unexpired term of the position, so it would be up to vote again in 2022.
Okay, so if we did a special election, we would be spending approximately $20,000 per year to appoint someone that you could easily appoint now without that expense. Is that correct?
I don't know if that's a question for me to answer specifically, but yes, there would be an expense to a special election.
Of approximately $40,000 from what the city clerk mentioned a meeting or so ago?
That is correct.
Okay. So my next question is, the process that the council agreed to going into this appointment, was it discussed between the council members that the most qualified person would be appointed? Who can answer that for me? Perhaps I should rephrase that. What was the criteria the council discussed to make the selection for the appointment, if that's easier for you to respond to?
Mr. Westbrook, would you have that document in front of you? And is that something that we can tell the public, obviously?
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead. If you have it in front of you, you would like to know what we put down as far as our process.
Yeah, there was an interview process, resulted in 4 applicants submitting their resumes. Those 4 applicants came in and interviewed with the city council at their meeting of February 2nd. There was 3 questions that were, or actually 4 questions rather, that was asked of each of the applicants, which mimicked and were very similar to the questions that were on their application, so that everybody was prepared to respond to the questions that were asked by the city council. From them, there were recommendations. From that point, there were recommendations on potential appointment of one of those 4 candidates.
Okay, so, and it was agreed upon beforehand that the council would vote for the most qualified, or was there discussion that you would pick your top 2? Or was it just a matter of, okay, we're just gonna let whoever makes a motion, we're gonna go with that? I'm just trying to get a grasp of what was discussed prior to making the selection or making this whole process.
The process was, as you described, the last, where there would be a motion made by a council member and then a vote taken.
Okay, so my next question is because I concur with Councilmember Rhino and Councilmember Silvera that Lori Smith is the most qualified, despite the fact that she's worked in government. She has a well-rounded, and if you go back to her application and compare it to the applications and resumes that were submitted. Now, I don't know if all of you have been on a selection panel or not ever before for a job, but when I have sat on panels to select someone, the choice is usually to go with the person who is most qualified, despite whether they're a public official, a private organization. It all boils down to experience. So my question is to the mayor and to Councilmember Condit, and I apologize if you hear my grandbaby in the background, she's feisty right now. To Councilmember Condit and to Mayor Lopez, can you please tell us what prevents you from making the choice of selecting someone who appears in the application, in the interview, to be the most qualified person? What is preventing you from choosing that person? Because I don't think anyone has asked you publicly, why don't you want that candidate or that applicant to fill that position? So I'd like to ask you now, what is the reason you do not want that applicant sitting on the dais?
Before we answer those questions, the same question should be asked to the rest of the council members why they don't want to choose anybody else. While it
Okay,
is a fair question, and
I would definitely open it up to
I'll
all the
respond first, Renee.
Sure.
So I run a business, and I have also in the past as a fire technician interviewed many technicians before. And there is a lot of people out there who do have qualifications, but that doesn't always mean that they're the best for the team. So hopefully you understand that qualifications that obviously the person that you choose or that you feel is best, Ms. Smith, doesn't necessarily mean that she's the most qualified. I'm newly elected, Severa's newly elected, Cooper's newly elected. We have 0 experience in politics. We were elected by the people. So not that I'm obviously disagreeing with you, Renee, as far as qualifications. There is nothing that I could say negatively about Ms. Smith, because that's not my motive. I personally believe that the persons that I want to appoint are going to do the job that we seek, not necessarily based on qualifications. So hopefully that answers your question, Renee.
Ms. Ledbetter, I would echo the mayor's remarks. This isn't anything personal about Commissioner Smith. This is just who I think is the best qualified. Everybody has different views on who's qualified. You have a different view than me. I don't hold that against you. I still think you're a great person. We can have disagreements. That's what democracy is about. People get elected that other folks don't agree with, and majority rule. So it goes.
Okay, so to be fair, as the mayor asked, to ask Mr. Silvera and Mrs. Rhino the same question, why do you feel that the other two candidates are not as qualified?
And before we do that, Cooper, were you finished speaking? I just want to make sure.
Yes, Mayor, and I don't think it's not as qualified, Ms. Letter. I think it's not qualified. They're saying they're not qualified at all.
Well, I'll allow Silvera and Ms. Rhino to speak for themselves. Would you guys like to speak? Ms. Rhino? Thank you.
When I compared all four applicants, I listened to all of them. I can appreciate that 3 of them have the desire to serve the city. I understand that. I remember that, and I know the rest of the council believes that as well, that you have the desire, that's great. But when you have 3 that have the desire, 1 that has the experience, and I look down at our new council, and I've already seen how our meetings have gone, and that just took me right over the top to show me that their lack of experience is not what we need. This council needs experience. We have many things coming aboard, and again, I can appreciate their passion that they want to be on the council, but contrary to what the mayor believes, passion for me isn't enough.
Mr. Silvera, I don't see you. I pushed your button. I just want to give you an opportunity to speak before Cooper jumps in.
Yes, thank you, Renee, for your comments. At no point in time did I ever say, and I'm surprised Mr. Condit said that the other 3 candidates weren't qualified. Obviously great people, or it's great that they're willing to serve their community, and there's a bunch of different ways to do it other than the city council. What I've said, and I'll continue to say, is there is no comparison in the qualification between Mrs. Smith and the other 3. There's just no comparison. She's without a doubt, clearly the most qualified. And as Ms. Rhino said, what we need right now. Somebody with experience and qualifications that we can hit the ground running. So I'm disappointed that Mr. Condit said anything about a previous meeting and what I did or didn't infer, because it's clearly not the truth. I think the other 3 candidates are great. They're just not even closely as qualified as Mrs. Smith. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Silvera. Cooper?
Councilman Silvera, I'm sorry you feel that way. I wish you would be willing to choose one of those as a second choice, so we could all come to an agreement. Councilmember Rhino, the voters say who's qualified. Mr. Mayor, he wouldn't be qualified on this selection, and neither would I. It's not for us to say your resume looks the best. I just really disagree with that notion, and the fact that you have this aristocratic attitude that folks in government will make better elected officials than folks who have worked in the fire service or the healthcare industry or with children. I firmly disagree with that. Thank you.
Thank you very
Can we
much.
move on?
Is that a motion, Silvera?
It doesn't take a motion. There hasn't been a motion on the
Is-
table.
I
so
know,
there's
I'm
no-
at, well, you said, can we move on?
Can we just move on? We're talking about the same thing we have for 20 days now. Let's just move on. What's next on the agenda?
Mr. Tom, what would be the next move before we,
You don't,
the next item?
you
to the
don't
agenda?
necessarily have to continue this item. You could just renotice it if you all decide to call a special meeting or something before the 5th.
And that would require a motion, correct? If we wanted to table it or have a special meeting?
You could just drop it, you could table it, you have a few options.
If that's
No
the case.
action item, we don't need a motion.
If that's the case, Silvera, we will go ahead and we will,
Mr. Mayor, I've lit up my button.
oh, I'm sorry.
I would just like to say,
Cooper?
before we move on,
Sure.
if we make the decision to not choose a candidate and hold a special election, we should all be responsible for that choice and the cost of the election. I am going to dedicate my stipend, which isn't much, to help pay for it. And I would also like to make a motion tonight that the council appropriate the health insurance savings, which is over $19,000, to pay for this special election. I hope I get a second.
Yes, sir, I'll give you your second. You get a roll call.
Rhino,
No.
Councilmember Silvera,
No.
Vice Mayor Condit,
Aye.
Mayor Lopez.
Aye.
Motion fails 2-2.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead and stop this discussion. Did we already open this for public comment? We already did, correct? Just want to make sure before we move on. Thank you. We have 2 items for council referrals.
Mayor
Yes.
Lopez, we're going to need some conclusion on that item, whether we're going to put it on a special meeting.
Tom, is that because I was a little confused of what you're asking of me? You said that we could or we couldn't. So I'm just going based on what you told me. And so we can drop it as is, but it would require to table it. Do we necessarily need to table? You don't? Okay. That's why I wanted to be clear, Tom. I just didn't want to make sure I didn't want to jump the gun. Okay, Mr. Cooper, I'm allowing you to speak for the last time, sir.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to set a special meeting for March 5th, 6 p.m.
I'll second that. Can we get a,
Can I look at my calendar, please?
oh, absolutely. That's right.
City Clerk, is that it has to be, a decision has to be made before the 5th or on the 5th?
To call a special meeting, we just need 24-hour notice. correct?
No, my question is,
I'm doing the date count because it's 60 days exactly from the date that we, was January 4th, wasn't it? Last day.
Yeah, who's sworn in, I believe, on January 4th.
Okay.
so the decision, if there was a change, it could, in anyone's vote, it could still happen on the 5th, or the special election would just happen on the 5th. It would be noticed that it would start on the 5th. I don't know if I'm making myself clear. Okay.
The appointment would have to be made on March 5th. If it's not
Correct.
made on March 5th, it goes to a special election, which we would have to bring back an item before the city council.
Which would be March 5th at 5 PM.
Splitting
I'm
hairs.
just asking the question because
Yeah, I think that if that's the concern, then I would suggest maybe a special meeting on March 4th.
I would like to amend it to March 4th, Thursday.
Okay, I'll second that motion. Can I get a
I'll
roll
go
call?
ahead and call the roll. Councilmember Rhino,
yes,
Councilmember Silvera,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Condit,
Aye.
and Mayor Lopez.
Yes,
Motion passes 4-0.
thank you. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and move on to council member referrals. Just for clarification, Tom, for these referrals, they're just basically recommendations, correct? So we can place them on the next agenda. Correct. I just wanted to make that clear. Just wanted to double check. So number 10, regionalization of the Sirius Fire Department with the Modesto Fire Department. I'm requesting to bring this item to the next agenda and looking for council's consideration. And it doesn't necessarily need to be a motion. I can just ask everyone if it's a yes. Okay. I'll start left to right. Cooper? Oh, would you like to speak before we make that decision? Sure, absolutely, Rhino. Here you go. That would be Councilmember Rhino. Thank you for bringing that up.
Mr. City Attorney, when we had this discussion a couple of years ago, you did a research and you said that when a council member requested an item be placed on a future agenda, that it did not need to have a majority vote, is what you told me then. Is that still the case, or now we do need to have a majority vote to even have it put onto the council agenda?
I apologize. That had been our practice, but the city clerk found this item that said actually it requires concurrence to discuss the item further. So my thing was one council member says, yes, I want to talk about it. So it's two steps. Yes, I want to talk about it and it's on here. And then two, does a majority wish to discuss it in the future? And that is our process.
Okay, so what you told me previously
If that's what I said, that was incorrect.
is incorrect.
Yes, I believe that was our practice though for some time, but that's not what the writing says.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So let's go ahead and if anybody else has anything else to say.
Yeah, I actually have something.
Go ahead,
Reading what
Councilmember.
the city clerk published in the agenda, it doesn't say that it has to be moved to move on to an agenda. It says exactly what we've been doing for a long time, that any of the council members can put it on there. If you read it, it doesn't say anywhere that we have to move to have that done. Does that answer your question, Councilmember Rhino?
Well, I think the city attorney is saying that we have to have a concurrence of,
That's my reading of the section B. After considering the referral, which is what we have. And
That's it. There's no vote necessary or
no, there is a vote.
what's it?
And so the
options
way this council is going right now, we could never we might not put anything on an agenda because we're 2-2, correct? If you're going to do a referral that way.
I'm just going to jump in and just go ahead and ask for consideration to be placed this item on the next agenda.
I'm good with it.
Okay, I'm okay with it, Mr. Cooper.
Yeah, I'm willing to discuss it.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. We'll move on.
Would you like to know what I think, Mayor?
We could actually, what would be great is when we do discuss this on the agenda, because what I didn't want to happen was what happened last time, and things were being brought up without your prior knowledge. So that's what I'm trying to avoid.
No, but you just asked all of them if they wanted it to be on the
I'm answering your
agenda.
question, Ms. Wright.
And now are you asking me?
So what I'm
fine
telling
with
you,
it.
what I'm telling you is this: we're all going to have an opportunity to vote on this when this gets placed on the agenda. Let's not waste everybody's time arguing about this today. And that's why,
Mayor, I'm
Yes,
not
ma'am.
arguing about the item. You
Okay.
asked the other council members if they were okay.
oh, so let's
that-
let's get this on record. So go ahead and tell me whether you would like to.
I'm fine with that, but I
Okay.
wanted to bring up the fact that you asked them, but you didn't ask me.
Okay, well, now I'm asking you.
Yes, and I'm fine with it to be on an agenda.
Sweet, I love it. Thank you very much. We're going to go ahead and move on to item number 11. Cases Journey, Second Amendment Development Agreement. I'd also like to request to bring this item back on the agenda again. And after our brief conversation, we're going to go ahead and ask all the council members from left to right, including Councilmember Rhino, if you guys would like to consider to put this on the agenda.
I have
Mr.
my,
Cooper?
I have my light on and I'd like to make a comment, please.
Okay, absolutely. That's the way we would like to do it.
On January 11th, at our meeting, council voted, and it was a vote of 3-1, that we would wait until there is a full council to bring this item back before.
Okay.
And that was an action that we took,
Mhm.
and it was passed by a motion. And I
Right.
think that we should go by that, and we should wait until we have the full council, unless we're going to, I don't know why we would be bringing it back if we've already taken a vote to
And
wait.
okay, I can answer that to my best of knowledge. City business needs to move along. I think it's a disparity to allow Cases Journey to sit here and wait any longer. So this is the reason why I wanted to bring this back. So are we okay with doing it the way I'm requesting?
Yeah, you could. It would be in effect whether changing your mind if it
Yeah, so-
passed 3-1.
So Councilmember Rhino, this is us changing our mind. And as long
Potentially.
as we all agree, this is us changing our mind.
Well,
I
didn't
don't want,
didn't we also extend his agreement to April the 12th, according to the motion that we made? So he is continuing with his business, because the motion was that we would wait until we had a full council, and that his existing agreement would be extended to April 12th.
I understand that. So I made my case. Would the council like to place this on the next agenda? Starting from left to right, Councilmember Cooper?
I'm willing to hear this again.
Thank you. Sure. Me as well. Now, Councilmember Rhino? Yes or no?
Sure.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Okay, we're going to go ahead and move on to, is there any, actually, before we do that, do we have to request public comment in this referral process? Just wanted to make sure.
You don't have to, the public has right to comment on any item on the agenda. You just don't have to ask for it unless it's a public hearing, and when you open the public hearing, the public.
Okay, when we open the public hearing, which will be in the future. Okay, is there any reports from the staff? Mr. Westbrook?
I don't have anything to report this evening. I do know that we do have a couple of our department heads on the line. If you would like to speak with them, I believe that Chief Collins is on, as well as Interim Chief Bato. Gentlemen, if you could raise your hands if you'd like to speak. In addition to Russell Fowler, the Supervisor Condit's representative, is also online. Mr. Fowler, if you'd like to speak, please raise your hand so that we can acknowledge the three of you.
And Mr. Tom, I just wanted to make sure that we asked to see if the council has anything to say before we move on to them. Is there any reports? Just wanted to make sure. And obviously you had said no. And what about the city attorney? Is there any reports?
No report, Mayor.
Oh, okay. Okay, let's go ahead and move on with the department head stuff. Thank you.
Okay, is there anybody in the room that would like to speak? Mr. Lohr?
Oh, Mr. Lohr.
The governor changed some regulations for youth sports, so we're looking into the regulations. But the exciting news today is we're working closely with the school district to bring back cross country. Their first meet will be tomorrow, and we're working closely with Jeremy, our public works director, staff, to have that ready and safe. And of course, the new course down at River Bluff Park, the lower bluff that we've expanded recently, is a gym. And they'll be using that. Another thing we're working with them on with the athletic directors is getting our fields ready. They need more soccer space. So definitely every day they'll be used for practice and games. So it's exciting to see that reopen. We're working closely with the school district to make sure it works within our needs, field measurements and all that. But good news, I like to see people out and about. And so I wanted to share that with the council.
Also, are we talking about opening up all the parks and putting our hoops back on our basketball courts? I mean, that could be a part of the process, correct? Or are you still looking into how we can safely do that?
With the governor's regulations, the school district has a little more leeway to get that going. So I'm working with them because they have a higher priority to get that going. I've been meeting with all the youth sport groups the last couple of weeks, figuring out that process when we get the green light. But definitely the high school cross country is one sport that can start immediately with the governor's regulations because there's minimal of zero contact. Soccer, basketball, those are further way down on the governor's list or the state's list. And I'm working with the groups that they can come back in a way that they can focus on the kids and provide the best viewing for the parents. And so I've been meeting with them. I don't have an answer yet because I'm still
Oh,
waiting.
I understand. Yeah, most definitely. But you understand where I'm coming from, right? As far as I would love for us to, in line, take a look at opening up our parks again if we're going to be allowing the school districts to use our facilities. And obviously, don't answer that right now. Just take that into consideration. And I just want to get some information, even if it's, down the line when you do receive that information.
Absolutely, Mayor. I've been meeting with
Yeah.
all the community groups in the evening, trying to find that process. So,
Oh, that's great.
okay, perfect.
Perfect. I appreciate that.
I think that Russell Fowler's on for Supervisor Condit. Can you?
I'm muted mic now.
Good evening. Can you all hear me okay?
We can hear you.
All right, great. Russell Fowler, Supervisor Condit's office. Just got a short update for you this evening. Hope everybody had a good weekend. And I know that there was some concern in our community that we wouldn't get our COVID clinics open, up and running this week due to the weather on the East Coast. The vaccine does come from the East Coast. Happy to report that our majority of our clinics will be up and running, and not for the full week, but we'll be administering doses per their allotment. That information, if you want to see what's open and what doses they're doing, that's available on standemergency.com, and they have a nice little flyer and explained it much better than I ever could. So just wanted to say that we will keep doing vaccines this week, and we're very thankful to get our vaccines in. Just a few constituent successes that we had over the last couple of weeks. Was able to schedule an appointment for a 90-year-old to get her COVID vaccine through a private entity, Save Mark. And so we're really happy to assist and help with that, and also helping with cleaning up a homeless encampment / alleyway here in Ceres. We made contact with Public Works, and we're moving through the channels there to get that cleaned up. So very happy to report that. And if anybody has any other items that we can be working on or any other requests, feel free to call our office at any time. With that being said, is there any comments, questions, or concerns for me?
Is there any questions, any comments, anybody? Thank you. I appreciate that.
I think that's it, Mayor.
That's it. Thank you very much. We will now adjourn this meeting and go to closed session for a conference with the labor negotiator. If there's anyone from the public that would like to speak in regards to the closed session item, please raise your hand. Anybody? You do or do not? I'm sorry. Do not. Okay. The city attorney will return to report out. Our next regular scheduled meeting will be held on Monday, March 8th. Thank you, everybody, and good night.
Okay, the council gave direction to its negotiator tonight. Thank you.